Hello, we are here as a part of the Phi Beta Mu Legacy Project, and today we are excited to be joined by Terry Ownby. Start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you went to high school, college, and some influential teachers in your life.
Okay. Well, I'm from Florence, Alabama. I graduated from Bradshaw High School and actually am back teaching at my home high school now. I actually went to college at the University of North Alabama, graduated there in 1991. Actually did finish my master's there in 2004. Been teaching now, I'm in year 29, which has been interesting. I taught 22 years at Muscle Shoals Middle School, Muscle Shoals High School. Taught 3 years at Wallace State Community College, and then last 5 years have been back at Florence High School, finishing up my career at my alma mater.
What are some memorable experiences from your career?
Wow. The first couple of years of teaching, just always that feeling of being lost. That's very memorable for me. I remember the first time of being where I really felt like I made the connection with a kid as far as on an instrument. And that was probably year 4 or 5, really making that connection and starting to see the band come together. And having that understanding of this is really kind of what the band is supposed to be. Other things that we did through the career, teaching alongside Pat Stegall, who I had the opportunity to teach with for 20 years, and David Waters. Just some great memories of bands and just some great things, gosh, with those guys. We had bands that went to Bands of America that did well, and just some individual kids who actually went on to become doctors and lawyers and all kinds of different things. And it's just doing this for so long now, it's just so hard to pinpoint. Probably the most memorable things are teaching my own daughters. And that totally changed how I taught. I got to see what I did through the eyes of my kids and listening to them every night at dinner. And, you know, I thought I knew my kids that I taught, but hearing what I did through them, through our conversations every night, and then realizing I really didn't know anything about the kids that I taught. And then hearing that made me start listening more. And that happened probably about year 15. And really made me be a lot more sensitive to the kids that I was teaching. And realizing all the things that these kids are really going through at home, and all the things, and realizing that band for a lot of these kids was their safe haven. And that aspect of teaching my kids, and I was lucky, I got to teach my kids all the way 6th grade through 12th grade for my oldest daughter, and then I left to go to Wallace State when my youngest daughter was in 10th or 11th grade. That changed me, and it changed the way I taught, and it's affected everything since then. And so that's probably the most memorable thing, is those memories of being there with my daughters through middle school, and taking my youngest daughter, who made red band clarinet and made middle school all-state band. Just those experiences with them were probably some of the most memorable things we've had.
Are there any mentors or colleagues throughout your time that had that huge impact on you?
Oh, yes. My first band director was Wayne Johnson. Wayne's a retired band director, and he really was one of those people that was on fire for what he did, and really sparked it with me, who was just a very, very shy child, and showed me that music was such a wonderful thing that could bring out so many things for me. Henry Nichols was my middle school band director. Henry became a granddad to me, and was that person in my life that was always there as a cheerleader. In high school, James Ed Champion, who is one of our Phi Beta Mu members, who was, and James Ed became like a dad to me when things were bad at home, which they were during all that time in my life. James Ed was a rock steady person and has been a mentor in my life ever since. Even to this day, at this conference, I had breakfast with him this morning. He has been that person that music brought us together. After that, lucky enough to go to college at the University of North Alabama, and Dr. Ed Jones was a mentor there, along with Art Thomas and James Simpson. Just so lucky along the way to have those people, and gosh, then to teach with Pat Stegall for 20 years, who's a dear friend and a mentor to me, to have people like Lynn Spiller, to have people like Ken Williams, and all these people who, as a young director, poured into me for no other reason than they saw a young guy that's in the profession, and that's what they did. And so they taught me that that's what you do, that you take what you have and you try to invest and pour back into the young directors too.
Are there any memorable performances from your time as a teacher, or performances that you've been to that just stuck out in your mind?
Probably the most memorable performances as a teacher, there's a couple. The first big performance for us is when my middle school band played at AMEA. We were accepted to play, and the best thing about that performance was that wasn't the best band I ever had. That band was just your average middle school band. Those kids, what made it memorable was those kids worked so hard to get to that level. The amount of energy and sweat equity that they poured into that musical performance that day. And just to see it pay off for them, and to see them enjoy a musical performance, and to see the level that they played that day. That group, and then the group that got the invitation for that group was the most talented group of middle school kids I'd ever had the opportunity to teach. That group of kids at state contest the year before, I left the stage and it was one of those wow moments. I remember one of the kids asking me, "How do you think we did?" And in my mind I was like, wow. And I looked at the child and I said, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. But in my mind I was thinking, wow, that was just an awesome performance. And I still have that recording to this day on my computer, just because it was such a memorable performance for me. With our high school band later on, it's the performance where we were back at AMEA, and those same kids that played there in that same group, and the year before, these kids are now high school kids, and we got to go back again with those kids and have that same experience with them. And so I've been lucky enough to have those experiences, and then some great jazz ensembles in college I got to play with, and just some memorable experiences like that.
You already talked about this with your experience with your daughters, but are there any other moments from your career that sort of forced you to elevate to become a better teacher?
The last 29 years, everything has changed. For me especially, looking at kids are the same. The environment around kids is totally different. A lot of these kids today, the best 8 hours of their day are when they're with us at school. And seeing that time with my daughters has really made me want to make sure that when those kids walk in my door, that the time that they're with me, they know it's a safe place. They know it's a place that they can come and grow. The one thing that we talk about every day in our classroom, and the one thing I try my best to get across every day, and I fail at it, is that every day you've got to make a difference. If you're not making a difference in somebody's life around you, then something's wrong in what you're doing. So, just the other day, a kid walks into my office and is in tears, a young man, because his grandparent had died. And I've had to learn, as a young director, I probably would have made a quick statement, moved on. As an older director, I stopped what I was doing, put everything down, sat down with him, and took 20, 30 minutes before school. Because everything I was working on was still going to be there after the bell rang, after he went on. But he needed me to take the place of a missing parent who wasn't in his life right now. He needed me to sit there with him. He needed me to be there. He needed somebody to vent to. He needed somebody to talk to. Somebody to just be there. And I think that's the thing I've learned over these years of doing this, is a lot of these kids just need somebody to be there. And I was lucky. I needed somebody to be there, and I had all these men that were there for me. And that's what sparked it in me in middle school. that I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And so I'm so genuinely humbled and lucky that I've been able to do this for 29 years. And somebody asked me, when are you going to quit doing this? I said, well, when the lights close one day, I'll know when it's time, but it's nowhere near time right now. So.
What would you tell to a first-year teacher, Terry Ownby, to become a good teacher?
Oh, wow. First-year teacher, Terry Ownby, the first thing I would tell to him is you need to get over yourself a little bit. But the next thing is you need to listen more and talk less. Listen to your kids and listen to really what they're telling you. And you need to do a lot more of self-reflection about the things that really matter. Because I don't think I did enough of that at that point in my life. I thought I knew everything coming out of college. And only to find out about 3 years later, I really knew nothing. And then it started me on that path of being the learner that I needed to be, and trying to learn more and trying to glean things from the men that I looked up to and those directors that were being successful, and trying to learn from them. So it was listen more, talk less.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share from your career, or other people that you'd like to acknowledge?
I'm just so blessed, like I said, the men I mentioned before, and there's so many people. I look back through and why so many of these people chose to even take the time. And the only thing I can say is they know that what we have to do is invest. And I've been part of an organization at ABA for my entire career, and I've been part of the leadership for ABA now for 16 years. And somebody said, why do you keep doing this? And I said, because if we're not serving others and trying to help others, then we're not meeting what we're really supposed to be here for. And in doing that, it's frustrating at times. But at the same time, I feel like we're here to make sure that we are doing our very best to leave what we're doing, to leave where we're working and all the things that we're doing better than what we started with. And I know the men that I've mentioned before, the Ken Williams of the world, the Glenn Spillers, the Tommy Brannons, all the guys that were in the leadership positions when I got here and started teaching, all those guys left it better. And it's because of the blood, sweat, and tears, and because they cared, and because they took the time. So if I'm looking at a young teacher and I'm looking at some of these older guys, that sometimes we get self-absorbed with what we're going on in our own little world, I would tell them, take time to look at the people around you and take time to invest in the people around you. Take time to invest in your school, not just your band program. Take time to invest in the other teachers. Take time to invest in your community. Take time to go play for the opening of this and the opening of that when they ask you to come and do that. Take time, if you want people to invest in you, you need to take time to invest in them.
Well, Terry Ownby, thank you for joining us today and sharing your career and your life with us.
Right. Thank you for asking.